Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's wait for a few seconds so that others can join us too. Okay. So we have enough participants here, so we can start, I guess. So hello and good morning to everyone present here. Thank you first of all for joining us for the webinar. We have a very insightful session planned for you all today on how you can automate data export from Google Analytics 4, right? So let me quickly introduce the speakers for today's session before I share the agenda for the webinar and delve into the discussion. Right. My name is Daniel Hassan, and I am a product marketer here at Astera. I'll be your host for this webinar today. We also have with us Saliha Zubairi, the product manager for Astera's flagship data integration product, Centerprise. She has vast experience of developing scalable data integration solutions for enterprises from various industries. Okay, so moving on to the agenda for today's webinar. As you all know that Google Analytics 3 is going to retire permanently on July 1st, 2023, and you will have to move to GA4 regardless, okay? So if you haven't, this is the right time to move, and if you have, then we are going to show you how you can take advantage of your Google Analytics 4 data. Today, we will highlight what is new in GA4, how it is different compared to GA3, what are the benefits of GA4, and how your enterprise can extract and export data from Google Analytics 4. Let's dive into it then. So a little about GA4 first of all. Google Analytics 4 is the newer, more advanced iteration of Google's Web Analytics service. It was launched in October 2020, and needless to say, it comes with a lot of enhancement and different changes in this version. So let's first look at the differences that are being made in this version. So the most apparent difference that we see is in the account structure. In GA3, we could have up to 100 properties within which you can create multiple data streams within a single view. So more holistic of your data, right? Secondly, the data collection model. GA4 applies an event-based measurement model where every activity performed by the user is considered a separate event, right? And while GA3, it followed a session-based model where every action that occurred within a session was a separate hit type. So if you try to compare the figures in the report of GA3 and GA4, you're likely to see different figures for the same data range, right? That's because the measurement model has changed, okay? Then another major noticeable difference is in the reporting interface, right? As you guys can see in the two screenshots that we have attached here, first one is the universal analytics. Here you can see in the left side, we have a lot of standard reports already being made by Google Analytics, right? These are predefined reports. So basically what happens is that in Google Analytics 4, they have made it into four main collections of data, four main collections of reports, which have they have compressed the number of reports into four main collections that represent the user's life cycle on your website. It's giving it a much more modern and user-friendly outlook with simplified navigation. So that's also another major change that they have made. Now, moving on from the differences, there are some interesting features to explore in Google Analytics 4. So let's look into them. So first of all, one of the main enhancement that you can say that Google Analytics 4 offers is the ability of cross-platform tracking. Google Analytics 4 can now track the traffic and engagement in both website and application within a single property, right? So this is one of the main additions in this version of Google Analytics. Then predictive analytics is another advanced feature of Google Analytics 4. It uses machine learning algorithms to predict the future behavior of your traffic or of your website visitors based on their previous activity on your website. Using the insights from predictive analytics, you can better understand your customer behavior. You can identify valuable customer segments and plan your marketing campaigns better. So that's another main feature, right? Then you can also create custom reports in Google Analytics 4 with custom dimensions and metrics using the new feature of explorations. This was not available in GA3. It was only available to the users of Google Analytics 360 previously, which was the paid version. So it's a great addition to the tool, right? Then with GA4, you can also obviously create and track up to 300 events and up to 30 conversion events. So that's pretty good in terms of tracking flexibility. Previously, we just had like a limit of 20 goals that you could create and track, right? So it's a major upgrade. So now that we have seen, we have talked about GA4 itself, it's worth mentioning that why you must extract data from GA4, right? So clearly GA4 is a very powerful tool compared to Google Analytics 3. However, standalone GA4 data can only give you limited insights, right? If you want to truly understand your customers and drive deeper insights, you need to analyze it along with other data sources such as Facebook, HubSpot, and any other marketing platform that you may be using to create a 360-degree view of your customers. So that's pretty important. And to achieve that, you need to regularly export your data from Google Analytics 4 and create an integrated view. Another reason why marketers may extract data from GA4 is that you cannot perform manual calculations or visualizations of your choice to extract the required insights in GA4. So by pulling out the data from GA4, you can easily analyze it in Excel or feed your data into a visualization tool to build dashboards and charts to make your data more presentable and understandable for the end user, right? Now, one of the top priorities of any organization, especially large organizations, is to have access to real-time data, which can help in faster decision-making, provide actionable insights, and enable real-time data visualization, right? In the case of GA4, of course, if you want real-time insights and to integrate the data in your BI architecture, normally you will have to repeatedly extract data and like do the manual process, which is very tedious, right? But what if you can automate this data extraction process so it can just land in your database or the data warehouse you're using without any manual effort? So here comes Astera. Astera offers a code-free data integration platform that allows you to automatically extract data from multiple sources. We have native connectors for various databases, cloud platforms, applications, and files. We can also easily connect to Google Analytics 4, even Google Analytics 3, and other marketing platforms like HubSpot, Shopify, Facebook ads, and etc. All you need to do is drag and drop the connector, apply transformations, and load your data into the destination of your choice. You can load it into any database like Amazon Redshift, Azure, or a data warehouse such as Snowflake, or just a simple Excel file. So whatever suits your enterprise, right? So that's where Astera comes in. And then coming on to the benefits of using Astera's GA4 connector, there are obviously multiple benefits of using this connector to export your data. First of all, If you export data directly from GA4 using the download button, you can only export up to 50,000 rows. Moreover, if your enterprise is bringing a lot of traffic and data into your property, Google also applies data sampling. So these are two major issues with exporting your data directly, right? So with our connector, you can export the unsampled raw event level data without any limit on the number of reports, any number of rows you can export. In fact, this allows you to analyze individual user actions on your website, and then you can aggregate your data based on your requirements, right? You don't have to rely on the aggregation done by Google. So you can do all of that yourself once you have extracted your data using our connector. Secondly, and most importantly, I'd say with our GA4 connector, you can automate the data extraction process. It will save your time and efforts. It will improve your data accuracy by eliminating any human error and support your BI architecture as well by automatically updating your data, right? So, and then last but not the least, with our connector, you can export data based on dimensions or metrics of your own choice in a completely code-free environment. So that you don't have to code and deal with the APIs yourself, right? Our product will do that for you. So now, without further ado, Salia will walk us through a demo of how the GA4 connector actually works in our product. So over to you, Salia, now.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone, and I'll just share my screen to walk you through an example flow that we have set up for GA4 extraction. All right. So hopefully my screen is visible now, and you should be seeing the GA4 interface, where I have a report open which is called content groups. And this report is based on the dimensions in matrix that you're seeing on the left-hand side browser, right? This is the general GA4 interface that we're seeing. And we'll be walking you through how you can automate and extract such reports through our connector that we have built using Asteris Enterprise. Now, let's say you want to extract the same data with the same combination of dimension and matrix. And what Asteris Enterprise offers is an API-based connector that you can use in a drag and drop interface, and it makes it easier for you to design your own flows and get going with however you want to extract your data. So let's say the first step for this is I need to know what dimensions and matrix I will be extracting out of GA4, and their GA4 Query Explorer is going to help us. So this Query Explorer is basically where I can point to my GA4 account, and I can also select various parameters such as the date range that I want the data extracted, the start and the end date. And along with that, I can also select different metrics and dimensions on which I want the report to be extracted. Now, these can be similar to how I already have built my report on the UI. I already know what dimension matrix I will be needing, and I can similarly use the same here. So here you can see that I have actually defined 5 metrics, which are the average session duration, conversions, event count, new users, sessions, and I've also defined 2 dimensions, which is content groups and date. So since this is the content groups report, I'll be getting all of these metrics based on the content groups and the date. There are other options as well that I can skip for now and are optional to configure if you wish to. However, now what this gives me is a resultant query, which is right over here, as I have checked the show request JSON, right? So now it actually gives me a ready-made query that I can use as part of my connector. Now this is done. We have actually done the pre-work that we will be needing in order to use the connector in Asteris Enterprise. Let us now shift to the Asteris Enterprise interface, and here we are. So this interface that you're seeing on my screen right now is our designer for Asteris Enterprise. This designer is actually used to design, your data flows, how you want your data to flow from different sources. If you want to combine different sources, if you want to apply various transformations, this is where you design your the flow of your data. So here, the center of the screen is the designer, which you can also call a canvas. And on this canvas, you can use different objects from this toolbox that you're seeing on my left hand side. This toolbox has different categories. There are various sources, such as file sources, flat file sources, hierarchical sources. There are database sources. Similarly, there are other destinations as well, the same types. And then there comes transformations, which means any data that you're getting in your pipeline, you can apply various transformations and formalize your data according to what you need. Then there are other functionalities such as data profiling, etc. However, today's focus is going to be API. So since we are going to build an API-based connector for GA4, that means that we're going to use APIs that GA4 already offers, and using Astera's ready, custom connector, we are going to use the GA4 APIs to get data from the dimension using the dimensions metric that we've just defined. So let me jump to my existing project here that you are seeing on the right hand side. I have a project explorer, and I already have a project that consists of various GA4 reports that we have extracted as part of this demo. Now, and I'll be walking you through the content groups report extraction process. So let me open up this flow, and here you can see that this is already. Let me just zoom out a bit so you can get a complete picture of the flow, and then we'll specifically go into each of the steps of how we are extracting the data. So first off, we have the custom connector that we have used in order to build this flow. And here, this is the ready-made Google Analytics API connector, and it consists of different APIs that Google already offers. And let me expand the browser a bit so we get a complete picture of all the endpoints. Right. So from this one, we have used, So from this one, we have used the API to get all the report from using the matrix and dimensions. And how that works is, let's say I want to use create a new custom dimension API over here, right? Now, what this connector allows me to do is I can just drag and drop it onto my flow and integrate this API endpoint as part of my flow. Now, I've already built this flow, and if I zoom in a bit, the starting point of this flow is the same query that we extracted out of the GA4 Query Explorer. This is the query. So I know that these are the dimensions and metrics that I'll be needing. And I can copy this query and get it, as a source in Enterprise. And another cool feature is here you can see that this is the same query. Now, if I want to see exactly what the query consists of, I can right-click on the object and preview its output. This is going to tell me what source I'm getting into this flow, and this serves as a starting point of my flow. Now, let's see. So yeah, the same dimensions that I have selected there, date and content group, and the same matrix, the 5 matrix that we've selected, right? So this is our input for the API that request that we're going to make to GA4. Along with this query, we're also sending in the start date and the end date, and this becomes our query for the API. Now, if I open up the properties of the API client, right? So this properties is going to consist, so you can see that I am actually making a call to the analytics data.googleapi.com, and I'm calling the run report endpoint here. And this run report endpoint, it takes in all the dimensions and matrix that I want to receive, and it's going to make an API call and get me all the relevant dimension matrix. So as I preview output of this API, we're going to see is actually going to make a real API request, and this is the response that we have gotten. Right, so let's expand and see what response we got. It says it's a 200 OK response, which means it's a successful request. We've got our data that we wanted. And here we can see that the resultant data also tells us how many rows in the data that we're extracting, the total of 2045 rows. And it also, the next items that are there in this data is, it tells me that the data consists of 2 dimension headers and 5 metric headers. And the following rows that we're seeing, this is the format that GA4 actually gets the data out of the API. But you can see that it's not a very well structured format, as in it's not, the records are not coupled together as a single record. So if we see here, the first, this actually compiles the first record that's coming for this content group. So the content group is products page. This is the date. This is the these are the other 5 metrics that we're getting. So this compiles to the first record. However, this is the format that GA4 returns in data. But what we're going to do further on in this flow is we're going to transform this data such that it translates into a record-based information in a flat structure. So far so good. We have gotten our data from the GA4 API, and next up we can see that, let me collapse this one, so we can see that in the output we're getting our dimensions and matrix. And further on in the flow, all we're doing is basically transforming the data into a readable format, in a record-based format. So that's what the next flow is doing. The first object that you're seeing here, followed after the API call, is a sort and sequence object. And what this object is doing is, it's basically we call it a subflow, and this means that it is a reusable transformation that I've built. It actually it just sorts and sequences my data. Whatever is fed in it get the data in a sorted and sequenced manner. So if I preview output for this one, we can see how the data is transforming along every step of my API flow, right? So this is a very cool feature of Stress Enterprise, that at any point when you're designing your flow, you can directly just preview and see what the data is coming like. So here you can see that my, each of the individual rows that I was getting as the API response is now actually sorted, and it's also sequenced. So you can see that each of these records have been sequenced, and this is something that I'm going to use further on in my processing, because each of these grouping, how it has happened is I can identify that the first 2 dimensions, they belong to the first record, the second 2 dimensions belong to the second record, so on and so forth. So followed after, once my data is sequenced and sorted, the next transformation that I'm using here is what we call the denormalized transformation. And this denormalized transformation, it actually does the magic of combining all the different rows into a column, which means it's going to combine my data into a single record. And we have done it separately as 2 different pipelines for dimensions and matrix, because that's how GA4 returns us the data. So if you can see that my flow is following 2 paths, but similar paths. The first one that you're seeing on the top is for the dimensions. It's sorted and sequence data is going to be denormalized. And the part below it is also sort and sequence, and is going to denormalize my matrix. And once both my dimensions and matrix have been denormalized, I'm going to join those 2 together. And this is the data structure that we actually want. So if I preview output of the join transformation, that's going to give you a very clear idea of where we're heading to, as to how we want our data to look like, right? So this is a perfect picture of the extracted report of content groups. It's giving us a complete information about what content group is, which date it was. It's the data is grouped by, what's the other matrix according to the group data, the average and duration conversions, and this is everything that we actually we were seeing here in GA4. It's the complete set of extracted data, the same data that we're seeing here, we've gotten as part of the flow, right? And let's say once you're finalized with how you want your data to look like, the last step is actually to write it into a destination. And as I told you, Centerprise offers different destination formats. I can write it to a database. I can store my own data warehouse. I can manage that as well. I can write to a flat file destination. I can also write it to an API, let's say, right? So now I can see that my flow has been completely finalized and it's now ready for processing. So once I'm fully confirmed that the flow is functioning right, I've previewed the data to see its functionality, to verify that it's functioning correctly, then I can run the data flow, and this is going to complete the whole project automatically, right? It's going to run the flow, it's going to extract the data from GA4, and it's going to give me the output file, which is the Excel destination that I've selected. And yeah, so it's still running, and let's see. Yeah, so this is the job completed successfully. I can open up the Excel file and I can see how the data is coming along. So once the data has been extracted, this was a one-time job, right? However, the GA4 data keeps on updating every day, and we would want to sort of automate this process. So here, again, here you can see that my data has been extracted correctly, and all the, I've gotten all my data fed into this Excel destination, and now I can use it in anywhere else as well. So maybe I want to build some Power BI charts or use it in some analytics tool. I can do that from this Excel, or I can also write directly to those applications via Centerprise. So Centerprise is not just a tool for extracting, one from one connector, but it offers various features that you can use to. So let's say I want to integrate GA4 to some other platform, I can directly do that, right? I can build my flow or my data flow as by combining different sources from different platforms and building my complete enterprise solutions using this tool. So it's not just limited to extracting GA4, but it does much more than that. Coming to my original point, let's say you want to upgrade this flow, you want to run it on a daily basis or maybe weekly basis, then Centerprise, Asteris Enterprise offers a solution where you can actually schedule your flow to run on, different frequencies. So if I open up the scheduler, here I can see that I already have a scheduled job, and this job actually runs, if we can see that the frequency, it runs weekly, and this means that every time that this flow runs, it's going to update my data, and my extraction is going to be most up to date with what the current status is in GA4. So yeah, so Centerprise is, it's going to automatically orchestrate your process of data extraction and even combine data from various sources as well. This was about for the demo. I think over to you, Daniel.
Well, thank you so much, Salia. That was an enlightening and a very amazing product demonstration session. And yeah, I mean, with that kind of automation, organizations can surely save up a lot of time and effort, and drive crucial insights on time. So it's a very amazing demonstration. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'll just open up the floor for questions now. If any of our participants has any questions regarding the demo or the webinar generally, now it's the time. Okay, so I'm seeing a question in our chat here. So Javeria is asking, can you migrate our historical data from Google Analytics 3 to Google Analytics 4? So thank you, Javeri. First of all, that's a really useful question. So Google does not allow us to migrate our data from Google Analytics 3 to GA4, right? Since the data collection model has been completely changed. The metrics and the dimensions have been like revamped and they are different now. So obviously the figures won't coincide and so you cannot migrate your data. What we is can you secure that historical data that you have in your Universal Analytics by moving it into a database or a data warehouse, right? It can be done using Centerprise again in a similar way that Salia just demonstrated, but obviously there will be a few changes since the APIs for Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4 are different. So yeah, so I guess that should answer your question. So any other questions? Okay, so Saleh, I have a question for you here again from the chat. Can we use any combination of dimensions and metrics while extracting data from Google Analytics 4 using Centerprise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Centerprise does allow you to use any dimensions and metrics as long as they're compatible with Google, Google's combinations. So some of the metrics and dimensions, Google actually allows you to check if the combination of your matrix and dimensions is compatible to each other. If not, then the API call is not going to return you the right results. So yeah, as long as Google allows you to use that combinations, Enterprise has no limitation on that end.
Right. Makes so much sense. Thank you for answering that, Salia. I just have one more question for you here, and then I guess we can be done here. So, can the extracted data from Google Analytics 4 become available in real time to other stakeholders?
Yes, that's also a possibility using Astera's product suite. So let's say you have built your data flows, extracting data from Google Analytics, and you want to serve that data in real time. You want to make APIs on top of it. So yes, Enterprise Astera does offer that functionality where you can make APIs and serve your data in real time.
Sounds good. Okay, I think we can end our webinar here. And okay, so for anyone who still wants to find out more about the topic, you can just go on to astera.com/resources. We have some great blogs on GA and automation over there. And yeah, it looks like we are done here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And if you missed something and want to rewatch maybe the webinar, we will be posting the full webinar on astera.com/webinars. And yeah, feel free to get in touch with us anytime you want. We hope to see you again, and goodbye then.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.